19, ladies and gentlemen. What a blessing. Amén.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you. Estoy aprendiendo español, pero todavía mi español no es, no tengo suficiente fluencia para esto. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm really excited that you're here, and I'll tell you why. Because you're here to be part of the solution. Okay? We have a leadership crisis right now. I think you all know this. We have more resources to plant churches, and our pinch point is people. We have to have more leaders. And so you're here to help us be part of the solution. So God bless you. I'm so excited. And you can do it. And we're in it together. So let's make it happen. I want to start with two scriptural frames. The first one is 2 Timothy 2:2. I hope you have it memorized. Paul says to Timothy, "The things you've heard from me in the presence of many witnesses, entrust to faithful men who will be able to teach others also." So I have two questions. Help me. What are some things that Timothy learned from Paul?
To be bold.
To be bold. What else?
Preach in good time in season and out of season.
Yeah, how to preach in season and out of season. Oh, that's in the Bible. Yeah.
Guard faith.
Okay. How to guard the faith, sound doctrine. What else? Just imagine Timothy traveling around with Paul. What would he have learned?
Do the work of a good evangelist.
How to do the work of an evangelist? The short answer is Timothy learned how to do everything Paul did. Everything. Okay? So think of Paul. He's the highest level leader we know about. Timothy goes around with him, learns everything that he does. Okay? All right. Now, same verse. Entrust these to faithful men who will be able to teach. Able to teach. Where else do we hear that phrase, able to teach? In the qualifications for elders in 1 Timothy chapter 3. If you look at the qualifications for elders, you have to have men of good character, more or less, is the summary, and they have to be able to teach. Okay? So here's what I want to show you from 2 Timothy chapter 2. Timothy's pastoring in Ephesus. Timothy is raising up leaders in Ephesus for Ephesus. Right? If Timothy needs more elders, like, what is he going to do like us? What would we do? We'd go find another church. Find one in another church and say, "Hey, come here, we'll pay you more." Right? Or, "Come here, you have the experience," or "We're bigger than your last one," or whatever. Right? Timothy couldn't do that. There weren't any other churches. Or that they were smaller. Like Ephesus was the thing, man. Right? He had to raise them up himself. Okay? Okay. My second verse is Titus chapter 1, verse 5. Paul talking to Titus. Now Titus is the apostle for the whole island of Crete. The whole thing is under his responsibility. Okay? And Paul says, "The reason I left you in Crete was to set right what was left undone, and as I directed you, to appoint elders in every town." All right? So where are these elders coming from? They're not coming from Crete Baptist Theological Seminary. It didn't exist. Okay? So here's what I want to say to you. It is normal in church life to produce the highest levels of leadership. Okay? And my fear is that in the American church, our view of discipleship has stopped too soon. We're like, we want to get you saved, and we want you to be a church member, and we want you to be baptized, and we want you in a group, not leading a group, but in a group, and maybe serving. And if you'll do that, that's all we want. It's enough. Now, not everybody's going to be a pastor. It's okay, right? But I think in the American church, in my experience, we haven't raised the bar high enough. We've stopped asking. We ask people to be baptized. We ask people to join groups. We ask people to come to church. But we don't ask people to become pastors or to plant churches. We need to normalize inviting people into higher levels of leadership. All right. I'm going to give you a frame for thinking about this. A couple of years ago, I was talking with a guy. He was career Army. And I said to him, Charles, I have this impression, and my impression is that the United States military isn't actually, its purpose isn't actually to defend the country. He looked at me, I said, I think its purpose is to be a leadership development organization that just happens to defend the country and go to war when necessary. And he said, you know what, Pastor Mark, you're exactly right, because having qualified and competent leaders at every level of command is absolutely essential to the ability of the military to project force when the country needs it. Okay? Friends, here's what I want to suggest to you. The Church of Jesus Christ is a leadership development organization that worships Jesus and preaches the gospel, because having qualified and competent leaders at every level of the organization is essential for the mission of Jesus, right? How are we going to expand the kingdom of God without more pastors and leaders? Who's going to do it? Okay? So, you think about the military. Let me see if I can get out a marker here. So they start, if you're going to join the Army, at first you're a candidate talking to a recruiter, and your hair's too long, and you're too fat, and you're out of shape, and you don't know how to handle a weapon or whatever, but somehow they get you to sign on the line, and then you become a recruit, and then they send you to boot camp, and they teach you how to fight and shoot and kill people and obey orders and do push-ups and all that kind of, they kind of get you into shape, right? So in discipleship terms, this is how you pray, and this is how you love people, and this is the Bible, and this is the New Testament, and like here's all the basic stuff. And then after you do basic training, they do a thing called AIT, Advanced Infantry Training, where you learn your job in the military, right? And so in discipleship terms, that's like, hey, I need you to help with our middle school ministry, and let's move the ball forward. Or, hey, I need you to help out in this group, or in the First Impressions team, or like whatever. That's getting people serving. And so when you have a soldier, they're basically able to lead themselves and do their job, okay? And I think in discipleship terms, that's where we've stopped, okay? But if you think about the military, they need leaders way beyond the individual soldier, don't they? Okay? I looked this up the other day. And so you have squads of 6 to 10 soldiers. You have platoons of 3 or 4 squads. You have companies of 3 or 4 platoons, and then brigades and divisions and corps, and like it gets really big. But in each place, there's responsibility for more and more people. And I don't think we have to layer it up as deeply as the Army does, right? But every one of you knows at your church, you've got to have some squad leaders to lead your groups, right? You have to have it. Like you live in that spot. And you need some platoon leaders, like some student pastors, or some kids pastors, or some group pastors, or some people to care for legacy adults or whatever. And we need company leaders. These are your pastors, your church planters, your missionaries. And so what we need to do is normalize training from the beginning all the way to the top. All the way to the top. Okay? Now, does this mean we need to start doing some big leadership development thing in addition to everything else that we're doing? Well, the answer really is no. The answer is no, and I want you to think about how Jesus did it. Think about his ministry. How am I doing?
You're doing great.
My watch was upside down. I thought it was really late. Okay. So he shows up at Israel's Messiah, and his first job is to preach and teach and heal in the villages of Galilee. And so he starts doing that. Okay? And then the next thing he does is he recruits some guys to come with him. And they watch him do it, and then they start helping him do it, right? And if you read through the Gospels with this lens, you'll see, like at the feeding of the 5,000, right? The disciples come up, and they're like, hey, Jesus, what's the question they ask?
Send them away.
It's like, send them home. They need to eat. Like, these people don't have anything to eat. That's the problem. And they expected him to solve it. And what did he do? He said, you give them something to eat. Like, he starts giving them responsibility. You see that? Okay? And then a little later, you read about this in Luke. He takes them, after they've been with him for a while, and he sends them into the villages without him to preach and teach the kingdom of God and to heal and minister. How did they know how to do it? They were with him. They saw how he did it, and he sent them out to go do it in the places that he was going to come to. Okay? Right? So here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about how you can use everything that you're already doing in your church to equip and empower emerging leaders. Think about Sunday morning. What do you do on Sunday morning? Well, someone gets up and welcomes the congregation. Somebody gets up and does a scripture reading. Somebody shares a testimony. Somebody prays a prayer. Somebody preaches. Somebody gives announcements. Somebody does the next steps. Okay? Well, why does that all have to be done by the pastor? The answer is it doesn't. Can somebody else give the welcome? Yeah. Can somebody else give the announcements? Yeah. Can somebody else preach? Yes. And it will help you. Wouldn't you like to have a break every now and then from the grind of sermon preparation? Or is your ego so large that it always has to be you? Right? Okay? If it always has to be you, it may not be the kingdom of Jesus that you're building, right? It may be another kind of kingdom. Okay? And here's the thing. When you have someone else preach, it'll never be as good as you. It just won't. But we have to allow people. Sorry, what?
It might be better.
It might be better. It might be better. Okay? So here's what Jesus did. He let them go and preach without him. Right? Was Jesus a better preacher than them? Yeah, I'd say so. Right? But he still let them do it because he knew that he had to hand it all off to them. So for Jesus, model, assist, watch, leave. Do you know this acrostic? Model, assist, watch, leave. First, you show them how to do it. You model it. And then you let them help you as you're doing it. And then you watch them do it. And then you launch them out to do it by themselves. And you can do that for any area of skill development. All right. Here's what I really want to spend some time doing. All right.
You're doing good.
You should have a blank piece of paper, and if you've written on yours, I have more. I want everybody to have a blank piece of paper. So, Pastor Tim, if you'll help. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to divide it in thirds, in columns, and it should look like this. Okay? Turn it on its side. Make yourselves 3 columns. Because here's what you're going to do. I'm going to get you to sketch out your residency program right now. Okay. Here we go. Pastor Martine, I usually follow my script much closer, but you got me fired up, and so I'm just up here. I'm just up here doing it. Okay, so here's your paper. 3/3. And at the top, I want you to start on the right. And my word is profile. Profile. That is, what kind of leaders do you want to see at the end of the process? What kind of leaders do you need? Need more leaders for your church? Do you want a church planter? Okay. Do you want to raise up missionaries? Do you need more kids workers? Like, it's your leadership pipeline. You can set it up to produce whatever you want. And so I want you to take a couple minutes and think about 3 different areas. Who do they need to be in terms of their character? What kind of character traits are you looking for in your finished leaders? Who do they need to be? What do they need to know? What knowledge do they need? What theological knowledge? What practical knowledge? What DNA unique to your church? What do they need to know? And then finally, what do they need to be able to do? What skills do they need to have? I'll tell you some of the things that we think about in family church, Residency. I need people to be emotionally intelligent. That's one of the things on my list. I can't have religious weirdos being leaders for me. You know the type, right? The type who are like all about Jesus, but they scare people off because they're so weird. I can't have weird people. I need non-weird leaders. You're laughing. I've had to deal with them before. You probably had to deal with them before. So that's one of the things. It's like no weirdos, man. I have to have people that and I have to have people who are faithful, who can get the stuff done. I have to have doers. So there's a couple character things I look for. In terms of knowing, like at Family Church, we're pretty theologically specific. And different churches land in different places on this, and what you want them to know, well, it's up to you. It's your church, man. Right? If you like Grudem, have them do Grudem. If you don't want all that mess, you want to do something else, do something else. It's okay. And then what do you need them to do? I'll tell you what I need my residents to do. I need them to be capable and competent in sharing the gospel. Okay? Now, they're not all gifted evangelists, but they're all going to be competent. I need them to know how to disciple people. I need them to know how to preach and teach the Bible. And those are some of the things that we work on. So you make your list. What are the things that you want to see? Okay? Now you add to that as we go, but I'm going to give you the next one out of the interest of time. Now I want you to go over to the left. And this is people. Who do you have right now in your church who could be developed? Who do you have right now? Start writing down names. Now, here's the problem. Sometimes as church leaders, we look at people and we're like, yeah, but that guy's a mess and he'll never blah, 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 blah. I want you to think about them like you think about your kids when they're like 9 and 10 years old, right? You have a 10-year-old guy out there playing basketball, your son, and he's shooting and he can't hit it or whatever, but you're thinking, man, he's going to play for the NBA. You're as optimistic and as positive about him as you can be. And you need to think about your church folks in the same way, because they can be probably more than you think they can be. They can grow in ways, maybe God could grow them up to be more than you see right now. And so I want you to ask God to give you eyes of faith, but write down 1 or 2 or 5 names. Now here's the other thing that you should do. Don't just think about adults. Think about teenagers. Think about kids. Because man, if you give a kid, like a 5th grade kid, some leadership responsibility, you might light a spark in that kid that'll take him through. And pay attention to those teenagers, man. Their personalities and their skills are emerging. And we have to play long ball with development. Right? So the kid's 14 now, you're like, well, it'll be like 15 years before he's a pastor. Well, you're going to be 15 years older in 15 years, and so will he. Okay? All right. So that's people. And then in the middle is process. This is, how do you take these people and get them to there? And the answer is process. This is your pipeline right here. Okay? Now, I want to suggest a couple of things, and then I want to tell you a little more about a resource that we have. I didn't say that. All right. Some things you might want to think about in process. You might want to think about books Think about the books that impacted you, right? What formed you into the kind of pastor that you are? Okay? I want you to think about experiences. What were remember, like Pastor Martin, the first time you got up and preached your sermon and was the worst one you ever did? Okay? Remember, that's the lesson. The first is the worst. And it will be for everybody that you, like the first time you get them up to just go ahead and buckle your seatbelt and put on your crash helmet, because it'll be bad. It'll be bad. But I remember my first sermon, and you know what? It wasn't that good. It was not good. I'm not proud of it. But you get better as you go. Okay? And the other thing is, who are the people that you want them to learn from and to be around? Okay? One of those people is probably you, but you know some other folks. Maybe they're people whose ministries you respect, and they'll just see them like on podcasts and YouTube. Okay, that could be something. But you may have somebody in your church who has really good character that you want them to learn from. Or you may have a pastor friend that you can invite over to spend a little time with. Making introductions is huge. All right. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. The middle part of people development is the one that we fret about the most. I talked to a pastor at Florida Baptist Convention, and he was thinking about starting up a residency. He's like, oh, but I'm going to have to build this whole curriculum and blah, 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 blah. Now, I spend my life on process. So when I tell you the process is the least important part, it's the least important part. Your intentionality and being in relationship with them, you could put almost anything in here and it would work. And the other thing I would encourage you to do is start simple. Start simple. When Family Church started our residency program, it was a book list. We just picked like a dozen books that we thought, okay, let's spread this out over 2 years. And I was in the 3rd residency class as a student, and we just read the book, and then we sat in a circle and we talked about it, and that was it. That was the curriculum. And the other good news is that Send Network has a wonderful curriculum that they have pre-built for you, and it is fantastic. And it is free, and it is online. Your students could do it from anywhere. It's called the Multiplication Pipeline. And if you have students who are just getting started with leadership, Pipeline has something for that. Level 1 is living on mission. It'll just get them started with the frame. But then they also have level 2, which is disciple making, which will teach them to begin to influence 1 or 2 people. And then they have level 3, which is church planting. Okay? I want you to see this. In your packet, there's a page that says Church Development Library, and at the very bottom, there's a QR code that you can scan, and there's an email address there that'll connect you to the Pipeline resource. Marcus Redding is one of our team members, and he will get on the phone with you and help you set this up for your church, get you your own logins so that you can plug in. You don't even have to do, if you adopt Multiplication Pipeline, I'm making a mess.
That's right.
See how excited I am?
Keep talking.
Yeah. You won't even have to think through this. You could just plug and play, man. Just put it in there and go. And then run a few students through there and see if it works for you. Start simple and learn as you go, right? At Family Church, we're 11 years into our residency, and every year we learn something new. And we tweak something, we adjust as we go, okay? The most important thing is to get started, okay? Now, here's the last thing that I want to say, and then I'll be quiet. What you can't see right now is that once you start moving and implement this process and start investing, even if you just have one person, once you start investing in them, you get 5 years down the road, and what you're going to find is that you're going to have pride and joy and satisfaction. When you see, you're happy when you lead somebody to Christ. Just wait until somebody that you trained leads someone to Christ. See how happy you are then. You're happy when you preach and it goes well. Wait until somebody that you've invested in preaches and it goes really well. You're happy when your church is going well and gets started and move. Wait until somebody that you've trained starts a church, right? You're proud of your kids. Wait till you have grandkids, right? Are there any grandparents in the room? Right? You're more proud of your grandkids than you are of your kids, aren't you? Aren't you? Mm-hmm. You sure are. Okay. Friends, this is the most meaningful part of ministry. And it's the part that is going to have the most kingdom impact. Now, the last thing I will say is a warning. When you're developing people from inside your own church, it takes longer than you want it to. Okay? But we have to play long ball. Jesus has played long ball with you.
That's right.
Like, think back 10, 15 years of what a mess you were and how patient he's been with you. We have to do the same thing for others. And if we do, we might just see a lot more dots on these maps. God bless you, friends. Thank you for your patience. One question.
Yes. Very quick.
Yes, sir.
You said the process is maybe the least important stage.
Say that
You
again.
said process may be the least important stage, right?
Yes.
So I know there may be there may be a connection between profile and people. Which one you would say may be the most important?
I would say,
You repeat the question?
yeah, he's asking which part of this is most important, because I said that this one is maybe the least important. Okay. That's hard to quantify. I think the most important thing about the process is just that you're intentional about it. And you know what? It's probably your people that are the most important piece. Because you can't develop people you don't have. Right? Okay? So you have to have a vision for what they can be, and you have to have them. And then once you have the two of those, you can figure this out. You can figure this out. Start with NAM's multiplication pipeline. If you don't have a better idea, start with that. And then if you do it for a year and you don't like it, well then do something else. But keep developing people. That's the most important part. All right. Gracias, hermanos.
Yes, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Martine. So, hey, we just want to take a minute or two here, because what we don't want to happen today is we didn't want you to come to a conference. We've all been to conferences. We've all, got a certificate somewhere. We really wanted to get in the room together and see God stir our hearts to work together to see more multiplication happen in South Florida. So I want to take a minute or two, and I want you to hopefully do this throughout our time together. And I want you to reflect on these 3 questions. We're going to take a minute or two to think about these 3 questions. And we'll give a few moments. We'll have a little music playing. And then after that, we're going to take a break. And we'll come back from the break at 10:55. And during the break, man, get some more food. But man, meet some brothers in the room, because actually one of the answers to the question might be in this room, besides resources. But listen to these questions. I think these are great questions. What does God want you to do? You're here today, you've invested, you have a million places you could be. Things are going on in your life, church, family, finances. But the question is today, in all these sessions and all these leaders, what does God, not us, and I mean us like a family. Martine said it well, churches plant churches. My job and privilege is to serve you brothers. I'll do whatever I can to see what God wants to do with your life. So answer the question, what does God want you to do? The second question, and this is a tough one, is what or who do you need to help you? Now, I'll confess, over my ministry, there have been times where I wouldn't raise my hand and ask for help. Because why? I thought I was the leader, and we're going to get her done. But there's nothing wrong with a good leader raising his hand and saying, I need help. And I can tell you one thing. I've had the privilege now to be here in South Florida 3 years as your Sin City missionary, and I have not met one brother yet that doesn't want to help. God is doing something here in South Florida. So what or who do you need to help you? And then the third question is the toughest. When will you start? know, sometimes we'll ask God, what do you want me to do? But then we don't do it. And I can't help but even this morning and yesterday think about James saying, don't be just hearers of the word, but be doers. God doesn't need us to